It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Get ready for epic savings at Best Buy. Right now, you can save up to $700 on select Alienware and Dell gaming products. Perfect for leveling up your gaming experience. Plus, grab the latest Android Google Pixel at an unbeatable price. Don't miss these incredible deals. Shop now at bestbuy.com and upgrade your tech today.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Ready to bring your vision to life? At Small Rig, every idea, design, and product is inspired by you, the creator. With our industry-first under co-design mode and the Dream Rig free customization project, we unite with global creators to turn big dreams into reality. Whether it's a cage rig or mount, Small Rig's versatile gear is built to elevate your craft. Small Rig, where your creativity meets our innovation. Go to smallrig.com.
At Rolls Rolo, we don't just sell wallpaper, we create cohesive, cozy spaces. Our deep understanding of design means every pattern, color, and texture is carefully chosen to complement your home. Plus, we use advanced technology and water-based inks for vibrant, eco-friendly prints, ensuring a healthier environment. Visit rollsrolla.com to transform your space today. That's ROLLSROLLA.com today. At 25 Home, our ultimate goal is to provide you with a transformative experience, making each day feel like it has an extra hour. We believe your home is more than just a space, it's a sanctuary where comfort, relaxation, and happiness thrive. Discover the difference at 25 Home today. Shop now at 25home.com.
It is the Pete Sousa Show. We are live. We're in Manhattan Beach, California. Basketball game tonight at UC Irvine. I am in a hotel. This is just like some random person's room. Bear the Truth, good morning. My guy from Chicago. All things Baylor. We got Jason Asamoah in the transfer portal alongside Langston Love. We'll get to that in a moment. We'll do some transfer portal stuff. For Bear the Truth, and folks wondering what's going on with 1,000 college basketball players in the portal right now. Just a wild scenario playing out, but one that we expected. We're going to talk a little bit about LeBron and his interview coming up today on ESPN with Pat McAfee, and a little bit about, again, back to the transfer portal, and Micah Parsons making a statement yesterday or overnight into this morning about social media, his activity on social media. Hey, that's just how that's like how some people like go home and like rip bong hits. This is according to him pretty much, or like drink beer or like a vodka tonic. Like he gets on social media. At least that's kind of what the statement says. We'll talk about that. But by the way, all three things are probably not a great way to cope with your feelings. Tanner Carlson from All In Horns is going to join us. We're going to talk about the Sean Miller hire for Texas. Things have been moving so fast now in the postseason because of the transfer portal opening up this past Monday. I think we cycle through a lot of this coaching news. It can kind of get left behind a little bit. This is a huge hire. Sean Miller going to Texas, and Tanner Carlson is going to take us inside, or all in, I should say, Horns. And then our last segment, we're going to talk to Matt Freeman. Matt Freeman is with Vanquish the Foe. That's BYU's Sports B Nation page, or SB Nation, I should say, where he breaks down film and goes deep. And we want to find out if BYU is going to beat Alabama and just how far Richie Saunders and the guys can go. So we're going to talk with Matt Freeman about that. Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics. And, of course, Crawford Austin Properties, D1, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. We're working on a couple big sponsorships, too, that could be a lot of fun for all of us. So exciting stuff. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that alarm bell. I think once basketball season kind of winds down, this is the last game I'll do all season long. It's at UC Irvine, UAB UC Irvine, ESPN2 tonight. NIT quarterfinals. No other games are on, so you should be watching this game because according to what's this guy? What's his name? Clay Travis. Nobody watches the NBA. So if you're not watching college basketball, you're just not watching. You're not watching basketball. Let's open up with LeBron James. He's talking with Pat McAfee. This seems like, I mean, I'm sure like on the back end, it's been happening like for a while, right? Like, hey, LeBron, let's get you with Pat. Timing is interesting when you consider the two like massive personalities at ESPN are Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee. And it's interesting on the back end of, the situation that LeBron just had with Pat McAfee. By the way, I'm watching these valet guys. This should be a sport in itself. My room, I'm on the first floor. I'm facing outside of the parking lot where the valet is. These guys are like track stars. Whatever they're getting paid, it's not enough. Like I believe if we watch the video of a lot of our folks in society, whether it's working in a kitchen or working valet or like doing yard work, if we had videos of the work they actually do, we would probably tip them more. Just my opinion. These guys are busting their ass this morning, so I'll make sure I try to take care of them. You can always, by the way, tip with Venmo. Don't say you don't have cash anymore. Everybody has Venmo. Just tip with Venmo. The whole we don't have cash, I don't have cash, faking the look in your pockets, it's over. You got Venmo. Send the guys Venmo. Call it a day. Okay. Back to Stephen A. Smith. Back to Pat McAfee and LeBron. LeBron said in the clip that's being shared to preview this, because of course it wasn't live. I always have to get my LeBron precursor context in on this, that I think LeBron is not only an amazing guy, but one of the most obviously amazing athletes of our time. Is he better than Jordan? In my opinion, no. But I don't think we've ever seen anyone sustain a career like this and have it be this productive ever in the history of sports. And he is probably I'm not going to be that guy to be like, oh, he's top three and not give you my top three. But as we all know, LeBron's one of the best basketball players ever. And off the court, he's an amazing dude too. I mean, he just is. Okay. I've heard a lot of good stories. I've heard like some ones like, of course, you got to dig hard, but you can find, of course, there's negative stories about everybody. But by all accounts, LeBron is a great dude. Okay. Now let's split some hairs. LeBron chooses to go on this interview with McAfee. I say the timing's odd after a confrontation with Stephen A. Smith. I think that's kind of interesting. And here he is now going on Pat McAfee show, giving McAfee some juice. They're teasing the interview on First Take this morning. I saw a little soundbite of it last night watching SportsCenter late here on the West Coast. And one of the things that LeBron says, first of all, LeBron he kind of looks almost like menacing when he's sitting there. And this is only in the clip they showed. So now we're going like hardcore, like I'm dissecting this. This, by the way, LeBron, gosh, I mean, this is how big of a star you are, right? That jamokes all over the world are talking about your body language in this interview. But it's worth noting that he was like, he's sort of socially awkward when he gets impassioned. And he was getting impassioned, and he said that Giannis, and I think he was lying. I think he was doing it, I think on the back end, if he wants to kind of save face, he'll say he was embellishing or he was trying to make a point. But I think he says Giannis would score 250 points in a basketball game in the 70s. Like, dude, I think LeBron's a little confused. A lot of people have been talking about this Celtics documentary. That's been very good. It's on HBO. I had dinner with a buddy last night who said it's a little too political. But I think I countered and said, I think we all need that. We just do. I think, like, as white dudes, we need those refreshers. That's just my opinion, right? I think to give you an idea of what things were like in Boston in the 60s, which, by the way, is not like many, many, many moons ago, is sort of sobering and just gives you an idea of how we got here. That being said, a lot of the stuff that's on the floor, you see a lot of like Johnny Havlicek, right? And, dribbling around. Havlicek stole the ball. A lot of Bob Cousy, right? I mean, Bob Cousy, I don't know if he could play in the Big East now, right? Let alone play in the NBA. So, okay, I get it. Bob Cousy, Johnny Havlicek, like kind of same stuff, right? But when you get to like the 70s, like, that's a different ball game, dude. We're talking about Dr. J. We're talking about Kareem. We're talking about Bill Walton. We're talking Magic's playing in the last year of the 70s into the 80s. LeBron's out of his mind. And honestly, there are some guys who played basketball then, like Daryl Dawkins or like Maurice Lucas. Like, these dudes were like amazing athletes. They were built like brick shithouses, and they did not care who you were. And if you're going to say that Giannis would score 250 points in the 70s, well, you have to include some of the rules too. Like, it was a different game back then. There was no 3-point line. So is Giannis going to be able to play down low with those guys? Like, how are we going to do it with the rules? Like, you could get in all kinds of minutia, but I think that statement was complete trash. And I think that sort of like, if LeBron is trying to make a case for being like, because he is like a basketball savant. He's so bright and he knows the game so well. And I think has a lot to do with why he's still effective today. It's not just like great athletic ability and superhuman strength. But to say that Giannis would score 250 points in a game in the 70s, it's like, all right, dude, like that's just a lot. I don't know why he would say that. And the way he says it too, you'll see. All right. Just trust me on that one. So I thought that was kind of weird, and I thought it was a message to Stephen A. that he did it on the Pat McAfee show. Kind of like the new guard at ESPN. And Stephen A., even though he signed this, or even before he signed this new $100 million contract with ESPN, my employer too, when you get to the pecking order, there's like Stephen A. Smith, and then like I'm all the way you can't see. I'm down there on the carpet. It's pretty amazing. That LeBron would say that. And it's interesting that he would go and say it on Pat McAfee's show, who is, and Stephen A. has nothing but love for Pat McAfee and talks really, he speaks of him in the highest regard. But he talks about his future at ESPN too. Like, okay, if I'm going to do stuff for ESPN, like it's going to be more of the Pat McAfee type deal where I have full control of the show. Even First Take, that's ESPN's show. I'm pretty sure Stephen A. Smith's just like executive producer. I'm pretty sure as far as that goes. Now we'll move on to the transfer portal. Again, we got some big interviews coming up. Tanner Carlson with All In Horns is going to talk to us a little bit about the coaching situation there, and Sean Miller, and then Matt Freeman. We're going to dip into the Sweet 16 tomorrow night. First game on the slate, BYU. That's right. We're talking BYU and Alabama. Transfer portal stuff. This morning I woke up. A guy who I was I was blessed to call, I think, 4 Arizona State games this year for ESPN. And a guy who I feel like we danced with a little bit, right? But never really got to see him totally unleashed was Josan Sannon, right? Kid from Fall River, Massachusetts. He's was a 5-star guard, biggest recruit they've ever gotten at Arizona State, the most highly touted recruit, himself and Jaden Quaintance. So Josan Sannon is at Arizona State, and there was amazing flashes earlier in the year. Bobby Hurley on record was like, I've never seen a guy with a purer stroke than Josan Sannon. It was a major coup that Arizona State was able to get Josan Sannon. And, he's a kid from Fall River, Massachusetts. So he's from the Northeast. And Fall River is a tough area. It's right around Durfee High is the high school. Chris Herron went there. My buddy Mark Megna went there. Guy I played with at Richmond who played in the NFL. It's just a gritty area. So this is a tough kid. Both of his parents are Haitian immigrants. And they migrated to America. And Joe is this amazing basketball player. And he's this silky smooth guard. He had a game against Utah that I had where he just went inside a microwave and scored 15 points in a couple of minutes, it seemed. But we never got to see his full potential on display this year. He was constantly hit by nagging injuries. Arizona State they were who they were. It felt disjointed all season long. There were a couple guys at the top of that roster who I don't think were necessarily leaders. I think they might tell you that. So it was kind of like Bobby Hurley was herding cats all year long, and Sannon was himself and Jaden Quaintance were the 2 big cats, the freshmen, but couldn't keep him. I mean, that's the era we live in. So he hit the portal, and this morning he has it's been announced that he's signed with St. John's and Rick Pitino. He didn't even go on any visits. He visited St. John's or saw a basketball game at the Garden in 2024. Pitino was there at the time as coach, obviously. And so he's going to St. John's. Now, I hope we get to a world. His agent, Derek Malloy, is with Lift Sports. I got a hair in my mouth. Hopefully it's my own. Good Lord. He's with Lift Sports. It's got to be my own, by the way. He's from Lift Sports. This guy, Derek Malone. And he did all the talking, all the quotes to ESPN were courtesy of Derek Malloy. And I was checking out this guy's agency, and he seems like a real legit agent. Some of these guys are with agents who aren't even agents, which is so scary. But yeah, so he's going to St. John's, and the move this past summer, was to announce as an agent to pound your chest and to announce the NIL deal. This guy Malloy did not do that, and I think that's a great idea. We saw Coleman Hawkins play under the stress of that $2 million NIL deal that everybody knew he'd signed in the offseason, and it affected his play, and it affected the amount of pressure put on him. If I'm an agent, I know it's cool to say that I got this guy this deal for this amount of money, but if you really care about him, I think it's a really good idea not to say that. So it was cool that it wasn't released how much money he got. People can find out, but I think that's one of those little things, little pieces of tape, red tape, that I think that we should keep up, right? Because I just do. I think it's the right thing to do. So that's going to be really cool. That this Josan Sannon is a lightning rod of a player. Obviously, St. John's needs scoring. This guy you could literally wake him up out of a sound sleep and he can go get 20 for you. What will the consistency level be like? Will he be able to adapt into that whole? Who knows? But he's an amazing player. And it kind of sucks for Bobby Hurley that he left. And he sucks for the Big 12 too, because he's so exciting. But that he left and is bouncing and is going to play for St. John's. Micah Parsons this morning, I'll get to it briefly because we got Tanner in the bullpen right now, getting lathered up. But Micah Parsons making a statement that, he copes with stress and some other things by getting on social media and, being very transparent. He told this to Clarence Hill, reporter in Dallas. And I thought it's fine. That's the new age we're living in, dude. Micah Parsons has a podcast. Micah Parsons is more than entitled to go on social media and say whatever he wants. At the end of the day, it can be affecting the product if there's too much. If the Cowboys were winning, nobody will be asking any questions about his inclusion in the social media stratosphere. But I don't think it matters. And I think it's just stuff to talk about during the offseason. And we'll get into that maybe a little bit more if we have later, if we have time. I mean, you look at the Cowboys organization, Jerry Jones he's always got something to say. Now, I think it's a little bit different when it's coming from the owner, right? Than a player, but that organization just, sure. Could they be a little bit more buttoned up? Yeah. Could they win a little more? Yeah. It's been 29 years since the championship game. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about the Cowboys as the offseason continues to progress. And we're almost at draft time. But right now we're talking about college basketball and college coaches. Tanner Carlson from All In Horns is on the other side of this break. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics. Let's find out a little bit about this Texas situation. Sean Miller is a great coach, and he is a big-time coach. He has what it takes to bring in the best of the best and to beat the best of the best. And I think there's a lot of reason to be excited about Sean Miller. And we'll see if Tanner Carlson can confirm on the other side of this break. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics. Back after this. We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite. Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Terrapin Ridge Farms, they believe in the joy of effortless entertaining. Inspired by CEO Mary O'Donnell's mom and her legendary holiday parties, they've crafted a line of gourmet foods that turn any meal into a celebration. From savory jams to mustards, aiolis, and more, their products are made with love, bringing unforgettable flavors to your table. Whether it's a casual get-together or a special occasion, they make it easy to impress. Terrapin Ridge Farms, where great food and great memories come together. Visit them at terrapinridge.com. Terrapin Ridge. Want to turn your passion into profit? With Blogify, creating a blog has never been easier. Build, customize, and grow your site with powerful tools designed for beginners and pros alike. Start sharing your story today and watch your audience grow with Blogify. Visit blogify.ai today for a free 3-day trial. That's Blogify, Blogify.ai today.
And now, back to our show. It is the Pete Sousa Show, and he is Tanner Carlson, host of All In Horns, high school broadcaster extraordinaire to throw in there. Thank you so much, by the way, Tanner, for taking some time this morning. I know you got a busy schedule.
Oh, no, man. Thanks for having me. And when it comes to talking Texas Longhorn sports, I always kind of block off a little 30-minute period in my day, no matter who it is, to get some good conversation going.
Well, there's plenty to conversate about. Sean Miller named the head coach of the Longhorns. It happened fast. I want to talk about present day, but let's go backwards. Can you tell us a little bit about how this developed and his name emerged to the top of the heap?
Yeah, well, I think it actually happened 3 years ago, whenever Chris Beard was released from the program and fired after all of the things that the program was going through during that time. And then Rodney Terry stepped in as the interim and had a pretty good run and took Texas to the Elite Eight. And then I think Chris Del Conte kind of had golden handcuffs on at that point. And he was like, I think Sean Miller was one of the top candidates. But before this tournament run, Now I feel like, my hands are tied with Rodney Terry, and I have to extend him. And as a fan at that point in time, I would have been a little frustrated if he didn't give Rodney Terry that extension and give him a chance after making that Elite Eight run, and beating a Xavier team in the Sweet 16 to get to that point. And so, it was kind of one of those things where, the process of hiring the Sean Miller, the name has always been connected to the Texas program since Chris Del Conte has been there. And now that this opportunity has kind of given itself to shed some light on it, it only made sense that he was kind of one of the top candidates. Heard some rumors. Again, I don't think it was very, good hard rumor, sources, but Bill Self's, name was thrown in there in terms of him and his agent reaching out to the program following Texas's loss to Xavier in the first four this year. He's got a lifetime contract with KU. He's got some health issues. I never really bought too much into that stock. But as soon as Sean Miller's name came up, I said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Do you think I liked Rodney Terry? Being transparent, I got to call a couple of his games. I thought he did a really good job, obviously, the year when he took over. And he can recruit. Do you think it was premature letting him go?
I don't. I was kind of ready for it, to be honest with you. I think the Texas fan base was ready for it. The problem is that there was a step back each year. Got to the Elite Eight, got to the round of 32, got to the first four, and you're in a new conference. And you could just tell that this Texas program felt like they were 2 to 3 steps behind the rest of the conference all year long. Even the games that they really weren't supposed to win, come back win against Texas A&M, beat a good Kentucky team. Had some good quad one wins this year. It was losing to South Carolina. It was losing to Georgia. It was losing to Oklahoma at the end of the season, where you need to be playing your best basketball. And I think on top of that is you've got a talent like Trey Johnson, and you've got a freshman leading the SEC in scoring, and you're at the bottom tier of that conference. And I think it's underperforming. And you saw a pattern of underperformance throughout Rodney Terry's tenure there at Texas. And I think that was kind of more of the telltale sign, not so much this one individual season. I think big picture wise, you saw a steady decrease and a decline, a digression, if you will, of the product on the court. And just watching the games, watched about every game as I possibly could. It just wasn't a good brand of basketball. It wasn't a lot of ball movement. It was one of the worst teams in terms of assist throughout the conference. And field goal.
So a selfish team, pretty much.
What's that?
Like a selfish team. I mean, they weren't.
I think he grabbed players from the portal that were ISO guys. They were all one of the top scorers on their teams coming in from the transfer portal. And then he just said, all right, since you're one of the top scorers on your team, go be the top scorer on this team. And you can't have 5 or 6 top scorers on your team. You can only have one. And that was Trey Johnson. It should have been Trey Johnson. It was Trey Johnson. But then nobody else really knew what their role was. No one, the team never meshed. And that's Rodney Terry's job to do that. And it just didn't get done this year.
Rate your level of excitement for Sean Miller on a scale of 1 to 10.
1 to 10. I'm probably at about a 7. I think it's fair to be, not all in, all 100% on board with Sean Miller, but I do think that it is a step in the right direction. Something I've always said about the Texas basketball program is they need to be perennial tournament appearance teams. And then a good year, a successful season, in my opinion, would be a Sweet 16 appearance. And so anything further than that, that's kind of what you're looking at. And that's something that Sean Miller has done throughout his entire career, and he's done a really good job of it. He had a 71% winning percentage for his career as a head coach. He's 22-13 in March Madness. I would say he overachieved at Xavier in both stints that he was there. Third highest winning percentage in Xavier history, and led them to two Sweet 16s and an Elite Eight, which is the furthest that program has ever been. And so, same kind of, ordeal that he had at Arizona. And I think as long as he brings a continuation of tournament appearances, a continuation of a win, 2 wins, maybe one of those 5-year stretches, you get to a Final Four or an Elite Eight for this Texas program, that's success. And what I view as success for Texas basketball. Obviously, a national championship is on the top of the minds of this athletic department with Chris Del Conte. He's proven that he's hiring for national championships, whether that be through the softball program, whether that be getting Schlossnagel in as the baseball manager, getting Steve Sarkisian as the head football coach, Vic Schaefer for women's basketball. He's saying, look, mediocrity in terms of just making it to the tournament is not what we want. That's not the expectation. That's not the standard for the University of Texas. National championships and conference championships are the standard at Texas. And he believes that Sean Miller's that guy. And at this point, I've got no reason to doubt what Chris Del Conte has done with this Texas athletic program, because every hire he's made has improved that program since he's taken over.
How far back, you mentioned at the beginning, when the Chris Beard situation happened and Sean Miller's name was being kicked around, obviously it was figured, okay, Rodney will steady the ship here, take us through the rest of the season, and then we'll be able to turn the keys over to somebody who we pick. What was that relationship between Sean Miller and Chris Del Conte that goes back, that put him right in pole position even back then?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where their relationship kind of began, but I think it was just Sean Miller's impressive, runs with a smaller program like Xavier. And, whenever you get a program on the map and you take them to an Elite Eight and you now, yes, Xavier's a basketball school, but they will never be a Duke. They're never going to be a North Carolina. They're never going to be these programs. No. And then he gets hired on and takes on a much larger basketball program in Arizona. And I think that was kind of the moment where, when you have success at a program like that, with the expectations, with the fan base pressure, similar to what you're going to get with a Texas basketball program, nothing like Texas football by any means, but like a Texas basketball program that can handle that spotlight, handle those expectations from fans and from your donors and from, those who are giving money to the program now, which you can use, by the way. So Sean Miller not going to be getting any trouble in that area.
Yeah.
Like he did at Arizona with
no
DeAndre
phone
Ayton,
calls,
but,
nothing. It's all good.
Yeah. So everything he was in trouble for, completely legal now. So Texas doesn't have to worry about any of those things. But I think that's really what probably caught Chris Del Conte's eye, is of this guy has potential. One thing that I noticed between all the coaches that Chris Del Conte has hired is they haven't won a national championship as a head coach before. He wants them to do it first and foremost at the University of Texas and provide them the resources to do that, because he believes that these coaches can do that and have the ability to do that. And I thought it's kind of an interesting, way to look at it. Steve Sarkisian has had great success as a head coach, but he's never won a national championship. Won a national championship at Alabama as an offensive coordinator. Same thing with Schlossnagel. Took Texas A&M to a national championship or a College World Series. Didn't get the job done, but he believes that the resources that Texas can provide these coaches can get them over that hump.
It's interesting. Like I'm from Philadelphia and I've been in Texas for about 8 years, and I've got a chance to go to pretty much all the schools, and there's something different about Texas. There just is. And it's hard to describe, but when you're there, you can feel it. And when you're at the school, you can feel it. And there should never be an issue of, can you get recruits here? Like, will we have the resources? Like, it's all right there. And there's a steady diet of passion from the fan base, but the balance of the support is equally right as powerful. So, it's got to be an exciting time there. And we saw what Sark did with the college football playoff. Like, you guys are knocking on the door in all kinds of different scenarios. And it just hasn't always been like that.
Right. And I think that's something that, again, to go back to the mindset of where this athletic program is as a whole right now is win national championships. It's not just looking to kind of be relevant and put your brand on things and making sure that you're kind of within the mix. No, it's to win the whole damn thing. And in every sport, whether that's softball being, preseason #1 team in the country, or baseball, you're now a top 5 team in the country after beating a #2 LSU team in your first home stance in the SEC. And you've got a whole new coaching staff and a new roster, and you're already improving that drastically with Texas, what Steve Sarkisian's done. And so I believe that this program is going to support Sean Miller and give him the resources that he has never been exposed to in terms of the support around the program. And yes, that means NIL. And yes, that means paying these players and giving them the sponsors that they're looking for. Because Texas, believe it or not, I mean, Texas doesn't really look at Texas basketball, or fans of college basketball don't really look at Texas as this NBA factory. Well, it feels as though within the last 10 years, there's probably been about 8 lottery picks coming out of the University of Texas. So Texas attracts these big name guys. Trey Johnson is going to be the latest one. He's going to be a top 5 pick in this year's draft. Sean Miller is going to be able to recruit those types of guys and then develop them and get them to play at a winning level of basketball.
Was there a guy, Tanner, and this is the last question I got for you. Was there a coach who you was in the mix, name was kicked around, who you wanted to see hired? And obviously they went with Sean Miller, went in a different direction. Was there somebody that people never talked about?
I don't know if they never talked about him. He was probably the hottest name in the coaching carousel was Will Wade, coming out of McNeese and got that big win from Clemson in the tournament, and then obviously ended up signing his contract with NC State. But there was a time where he wasn't signing that contract until after the season was over. Yeah. And Texas fans were kind of like, Is it going to be Chris Del Conte working his magic a little bit? That didn't come true, obviously. I think Richard Pitino, who Xavier just hired, would have been an interesting name. I just don't think he was proven enough for what Chris Del Conte wants. And, obviously there was kind of, for me personally, I've been a big Kelvin Sampson fan from Houston. But I don't think you're going to leave a program like Houston that he's kind of developed and has had established. And he's someone on the older side of things. Who knows how long he's going to coach in terms of, retiring or anything like that. We joke around on our podcast on All in Horns. Big Rick Pitino fans would have loved to see him wearing his all white suit and with the burnt orange, tie or something like that. But that was kind of far fetched to think of. I thought Sean Miller was kind of the perfect middle ground of, you're not going to get a coach who's distracting from what you're trying to do and try to be the headliner. But you're also not going to get an unknown, unproven guy. He's proven that he can get to the Sweet 16. He's proven he can get to the Elite 8 and he can win at the highest level.
Yeah, Sean Miller can coach his ass off. I mean, he's done it everywhere he's been. And you almost feel like he was denied the opportunity to kind of break through with Arizona because of all the smoke and whatnot. And now, like you said, all that stuff's fair game. So Tanner Carlson, man,
absolutely,
host of All in Horns. You just heard the content. You know where to get it. I'd love to have you back, man. It's a lot of fun talking with you.
Oh, absolutely. And happy to be back anytime you want me, man.
All right, Tanner. Thanks a lot, man.
Yep.
Stay out of trouble. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. We put every machine through 6,000 rigorous tests to guarantee long-lasting performance. With cutting-edge technology and a commitment to energy efficiency, Gevi makes your life easier, greener, and more convenient. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more. That's gevi.com. Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Combine that with OrganicHemp.com's top quality CBD for ultimate balance. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and OrganicHemp.com. Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Calling all Marvel fans, get Marvel Unlimited and unlock over 30,000 comics featuring your favorite heroes and iconic stories, all available to read anytime, anywhere. Whether you're into classic tales or the latest adventures, there's something for everyone. Don't miss out. Head to marvel.com/unlimited today and start your Marvel journey now.
And now, back to our show. We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors.
No. We're back. We're back, Matt Freeman. We got Matt Freeman standing by in the bullpen. Pete Sousa. We are live in Manhattan Beach. Basketball game tonight. UC Irvine, UAB, ESPN2, NIT. I'll be on the call. And, of course, Matt is waiting in the wings now. He's ready to go because his game, the first game on the docket on Thursday, Alabama and BYU. Matt, your work with Vanquish the Foe is remarkable, and I love your deep dives into these films, and it's cool to talk with you about this. The matchup in itself, Alabama and BYU, what sets up for BYU to be able to win and pull off the upset? What do you like about the matchup?
Yeah. I mean, Alabama they're a good offensive team, right? Like that's what they do. They get up and down. And I was watching a few of their games and just the pace that they play at, like even St. Mary's, who likes to slow the game down. I was watching the first half of that game and they just get up the floor, makes, misses, which is great. I love that type of basketball. And it's kind of interesting because, Coach Young at BYU here early in the season, especially in the Big 12, as we started, ramping up significantly the level of defense that we were facing after that soft non-conference schedule. He was really trying to get the team to play faster. He's like, hey, we got to pick it up. We got to play faster. And so I know Alabama loves to play at that pace. And BYU metrics wise isn't a super high pace team, but that's a pace that I think BYU is really comfortable with. That's something that they want to run with people. They're always, you look over at the sideline, the coaches are always like, go, after every rebound, after every make. And so that I think sets up pretty well. It's a bit of a strength on strength thing, right? Like everybody's been talking about. The offenses are kind of just, let's see who can get more points, make more shots, and we'll see which defenses can hold up. So I think pace is one of the things that actually sets up pretty well for this BYU team to kind of counterattack. I was watching the Missouri game earlier that just kind of crazy 110-98, just flying up and down, both teams just kind of scoring buckets over and over again. So I think that's one thing that is actually going to really help BYU to push them to play faster, to get downhill more. And then Alabama, usually sets up. They threw in a little bit of kind of showing at the ball screen with St. Mary's. St. Mary's is so ball screen dominant that they wanted to shake that up. BYU can get there. If you're going to give it to them, they're going to run ball screen over and over. They started the game Wisconsin running a ton of ball screens. And then as the game evolves, they really will just see what you're doing. And then they're going to throw some other stuff at you to see what you do. So their base ball screen coverage for Bama a lot of times is this deep drop that BYU loves to attack, especially the pairing of Dallin Hall and Fus Traore, who Dallin will come off. He'll try to get the defender in jail. Fus will drive and dive right into the big and kind of try and seal him low for either a dump off or a layup for Dallin. And they've got really good chemistry for that. So I think there's a few things, even schematically, that BYU can get to offensively. And it definitely, it seems like what a lot of people are saying, right? First to 90 might win, first to 100 might win. There might be a ton of points going up tomorrow.
But that's a lot of fun. Like you said, that's kind of basketball we love. And so that would be a great way. I mean, even for the tournament itself and for CBS and Turner and all those properties to have a real exciting game to start things off on Thursday night. How different is this? Because I think it's a really cool time, especially with Utah just hiring Alex Jensen. I think there's a lot to be said for the work that Kevin Young has done, just so quickly implementing like that NBA sort of mindset and, all the things about his program that mirror, right, pro basketball. What have you noticed on the floor has been different with BYU's attack and what they do this year? It's different from what they did with Mark Pope. That's been successful for them. That comes from, maybe some of that NBA language that Coach Young speaks.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a difference. This team's roster upgraded in a few ways. It was really rough losing all the people we lost. We'd love to keep Jackson Robinson. We'd love to keep Noah Waterman, Ali Khalifa. But the way they were able to build the roster, one of the biggest things is having a talent like Jaeger Demon. Dallin Hall is a great point guard. Jaeger Demon, great point guard. Both of them being able to run the show, the whole time has been really helpful for what Kevin Young wants to do. And then I think, there's just an attention to detail. Coach Pope was great at it. He did really good, obviously last year. And then this year, Kevin Young as well kind of continues that, being able to say, okay, this team's guarding a certain way, I'll catch them in that way, and it's an interesting thing with this year's team. They started off, the Big 12 so slow, we're just getting in their own way, trying to wins. And I think part of that was a chemistry issue with a lot of the new roster players. But then they really started.
What happened at that point in time? Like around, I think it was maybe January 18th or February 18th, or when everything changed.
Yeah. So they had a little bit of mojo. They had just beaten. I can't remember who they just beaten at home. It might have been Baylor actually. Just had this great game, kind of like we might see tomorrow. Just high scoring, really exciting game. And then they went over to Cincinnati and they just got beat up at Cincinnati. Competitive first half, and then the second half, Cincinnati just said, "We're going to do whatever we want on both sides of the floor." And then you're in this West Virginia game right after that, kind of a tough swing coming out all the way from Utah to go Cincinnati to West Virginia.
Yo, dude, what a reminder of right now going through like the rigors of a Big 12 schedule. Yeah, I'm already exhausted again. It's almost like the tournament's easier. Yeah.
And it's crazy, in West Virginia, stingy defense. They lost their best offensive player, but they were still good. They were beating good teams there, especially there in Morgantown. And this first half that just was like, oh no, is this going to be another one of those games? This could be like TCU where we just can't figure it out and we lose, But they just found something in that second half. And in the post game, they talked about a little bit where they were just kind of like, guys, like, if we're going to win, like, we just have to take it to the next level. Like, we have to do everything more physical. We have to push back more. We have to fight on the glass more. Everything we do has to be done better. And they did it, and they embrace it, and kind of, the rest is history a little bit there, right? Like, they've only lost one game since, which is crazy in a league like this. They've gone up against good defenses. They played West Virginia again. They played Kansas. They played Iowa State twice and beat them. And so it's interesting seeing that because they were trying to find their way. And then I think, a combination, of just buckling down on some of those details. They played a little bit faster. Kansas State, their first 8 points were off of fast breaks, off of a make or a miss. They started cleaning up the glass better. They weren't getting pushed around on the glass as much. There were times where they were disconnected between the big would box out his man and the guard wouldn't, or the guard would get his man and then the big wouldn't, right? And then they kind of brought that all together. So I think it's interesting watching it because schematically they didn't change a ton. They were still trying to hit the same things offensively, defensively. They just kind of started doing it all better. And I think it was that switch that turned to West Virginia. They did those things. They locked in. They got that big win, first quad win of the year. Had to pull it out late and grind it out. And then just from there, I think, everything just clicked for them. They said, oh, you know what? Like, we like playing this way. It's fun to go get somebody. You watch guys like Trevin Nell that drive some people crazy because he's hitting people off the ball. He's hitting people on the glass. Dallin Hall as well. And the whole team kind of upped their physicality to match what was needed to get some of those wins later when maybe the offense wasn't doing so well.
And it's funny because talking to people around the Big 12 last year, especially when Utah started, they just had a rough year in their first go at it in the Big 12, maybe overall. And I was asking somebody, one of the analysts I work with, why was BYU able to make a smooth transition last year and Utah hasn't been able to? And they mentioned the physicality that BYU played with last year. And they lost a little bit of that out of the gate this year with roster turnover. And, it didn't take them long to get it back. And, you still have a guy like Dallin Hall to kind of lead that movement. And when a leader at the top of your roster is doing it, then it kind of trickles down, right? It's been really cool to see the change. One of the biggest changes this year, Matt, I need you to tell me what happened to Richie Saunders. Did he go to Germany and one of those things with Kobe or LeBron? The guy he's gone from a role player on a very good BYU team last year. You can say a strong BYU team to now people are talking about him being a first-round NBA draft pick.
Yeah. It's been amazing to see. And you saw sparks of it last year. And when you talk about physicality, he's the one that kind of carries the team as well in that point. He's just always go, go, go. I'm going to get downhill. I'm going to, push you off a little bit if you're crowding my space as I'm driving. he was a little inconsistent with his shot last year from 3-point land, and you started to see dial it in towards the end of the year last year. He started to have some really good games from 3, and that carried over to this year. And then I think, just another year. I'm sure having a staff and continuing that player development, just different coaches see different things, right? So you get someone else who maybe has a different angle on something and is able to point out something that you haven't pointed out before. And then I think the thing about Richie is he is the perfect player to play off advantages. And when you have a playmaker like Jaeger Demon, who's creating those advantages, who can find people who can play, and then when you have a style and the sets that they like to go to, the way they use the angles to run him off of stuff, if you give Richie a head of steam, that's all he needs. And once he has a head of steam, once he has an advantage, he's just going to take it. So I think they were trying to find themselves earlier this year, right? Who's going to be the one that takes all the shots? And I think Richie just stepped up and said, I'm going to be the guy that takes the shots. And he wasn't able to do that by the staff. And he stepped right into it and just started making a bunch of shots, right? And never really slowed down. It's been amazing to see what he does. It's kind of a quite, I think he had 25 against Wisconsin, and I was kind of like, oh wait, Richie has 25. Like, that's crazy. Like, you feel his his impact on the game all throughout, because he's such a high motor player. But then sometimes you look at it and you go, oh man, like he's been stacking these points the whole game, and by the end of it, it's like, without Richie, who's really been that stabilizing force the whole year, and then they've continued to find ways to put him in advantageous positions. He's a great player to play with an advantage. He might not be, he's not the greatest isolation player. His handle could tighten up a little bit, but when you give him a little bit of an advantage, that's all he needs is a tiny bit. And he's driving right through someone's chest, either going right up or multiple, pivots in the lane to find either hand to finish on. So it's been awesome to see.
You know what I noticed too, like down the stretch in the season, there was that game at Arizona where it's like, oh, like, Richie got that call, right? When Trey Townsend didn't down. But then the very next game you guys were playing, I think it was the very next game, on the road at Iowa State, and he draws another call late. And at some point it's like, okay, this isn't so much about bad reffing or bad defense. This dude's getting calls. He's putting himself in positions to receive favorable calls from referees. Like, that is a skill unto itself. Yeah.
And he's done a great job at that. He plays so downhill that I think he's started to learn that. I joked with one of the games, it might have been Iowa State, that he's finally taken the last step of his offensive evolution. He's become a foul baiter, right?
Yeah.
But in that game, he didn't really, he was getting fouled. Iowa State's a physical team, but he shot like 13 free throws, I think, in that game. I think he was 13 for 13. But I think he's really just embodied that. You know what? I'm going to get downhill, and that's something BYU's kind of lacked in the past at times. Is we get in these end of game situations, and it's like, let's just get someone going downhill and see if we can get some free throws out of it. And, the Arizona game, the Iowa State game, it worked.
First Sweet 16 since 2011 for BYU. How, or does this at all set up for the Cougars to make a run to the Final Four?
Yeah, I think, they just keep doing what they do, right? So at this point, it's like, you kind of feel silly not believing in them, especially if you're a fan of the team, right? Because they just keep beating good teams, and they do it in a variety of ways. The formula is about the same. But, no matter, VCU hit 15 threes, BYU wins. Tonje goes for 37, BYU wins. Curtis Jones turned into Steph Curry for 7 minutes in the Big 12 tournament. BYU found a way to win. So it's almost, right now as a fan, it's great because we're feeling super high on this team. It's like, what can't we do? Why not go to the Final Four, right? And Alabama sets up to be a decent matchup. They are solid defensively, but I think BYU can get to some stuff. And BYU has shown, even against, as long as your name's not Houston, we kind of joke sometimes over in kind of on BYU Twitter. As long as you're not Houston, BYU is going to find a way to put 80 points on you. So it'll be really interesting.
By the way, so does everybody else in the Big Arizona. Tommy Lloyd literally says the same thing.
Right. They're such a tough team. But, Duke is going to be a huge, obviously, as everybody's saying, Duke is it might be Duke's tournament to lose. They're so good offensively and defensively, and that type of pairing, as good as the Big 12 was, those teams that are good offensively and defensively, BYU hasn't seen that much. And so that obviously would be the big challenge. No surprise there. But yeah, at this point, we're like, this team just keeps finding ways to win. So we're just going to keep enjoying the ride, and why not go to the Final Four, you know?
Why not us, baby? Matt Freeman, thank you so much. Basketball analyst and Vanquish the Foe. Matt, I'd love to have you back if we can get a BYU win. So let's make it happen.
Sure, yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah, you do a great job, and I really appreciate the time, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right, let's go Cougs. All right, that's Matt Freeman. Pretty cool there to get the breakdown, and really cool opportunity to talk to a guy like that to get some insight on, like the evolution of a guy like Richie Saunders. I've been fascinated by his development, and it's more so, I don't know the game like coaches do. I don't break it down like Matt does. I'm around it a lot, and to be able to hear folks constantly talking about Richie Saunders, guys that I was with last year, analysts that know the game, and everybody's talking about this guy. It's hard to ignore the player development stuff that's going on at BYU, and that obviously Kevin Young has going now. And you look at the copycat situation that, the Utes did, right up the road in Salt Lake to bring in an Alex Jensen, similar to a Kevin Young. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening in that neck of the woods, and it's starting in Provo, as usual, right? So that'll wrap it up for here. I got to get going. I got to shoot around over at UC Irvine. I'm going to do a live, Scotty, listen up here. We're going to do a live wrap, or not live. I'm going to record something after the show here. It's going to be super late, and then I'm flying back early tomorrow morning. So we'll re-rack a couple of our best interviews this week and present them for you. But for now, the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics. We say thank you. Thank you, of course, too, to Matt Freeman from Vanquish the Foe and for Tanner Carlson from All In Horns. Look forward to catching up with those guys more here in the future. Thanks to Slovacics and everybody else that makes this possible. Scotty Swingler back in Waco. We will check you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internix.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. At Acasis, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Sports.
We are Rogue Media Sports.